Hi, this is Cordy for BlueFirePoker, and this is going to be a single part review of a session that I've recorded a few days ago. I actually got interrupted about 20 minutes into the recording, and I had to stop playing. Normally I'd discard the recording because of that, but there were a few interesting hands in the session, and so I thought it'd be interesting to make a video out of it. So this session was played around the same time as my previous three-part recorded sweat series, and so the same applies regarding my HUD. This is not a HUD I normally use. I'd had some computer problems around the time, and yeah, I just haven't been able to recreate the iPoker HUD that I was using in previous sessions. So table 6, bottom right, I've just 3-bet squeezed against an opener from under the gun +1. Only got 1,000 hands on him, but he seems to be playing reasonably loose, so I'm 3-betting for value. Some of them I've only got 14 hands on is called in the cut-off. I get 4-bet, and I mean, it's really going to depend on his 4-betting tendencies. If he's never 4-bet bluffing, then this could be moving towards a fold. But if he's 4-bet bluffing with any sort of frequency, then whilst I'm never like in great shape if we get it in, if I factor in my equity against his all-in range, combined with the few times that I'm gonna get a fold from a 4-bet bluff, then I think it's going to be okay to shove in this spot. I guess I only have 1,000 hands on him, and I'm going to be able to get a really good grasp on his 4-betting tendencies, although over what I've got, his 4-bet range is coming out of 4, which is reasonably high. So if his 4-bet range is like really low, then like less than 1 or something over this sample size, then alarm bells might start to ring. And we got lucky. Made a full house on the river. So I'm 3-betting on table 5. This is a capped table, by the way. Didn't realise that it was capped. It's a while since I played on this site. Didn't realise it was a capped table when I opened up in the lobby. So I've 3-bet as a bluff. He's a shorter stack. I could make this like a smaller sizing because he's a shorter stack. He's not going to have the benefit of the stack to pot ratio that a larger stack would have. And so he's going to be less inclined to call in position. So I could probably get away with like making it something around 450 rather than 650. So I'm a bit surprised I've made it so large. I think I've been caught out by not realising that it's a cap table, perhaps. Oh, sorry. It's not a cap table, it's a 50 NL table. Yeah, so I've probably been caught out by the fact that it's a 50 NL table rather than 100 NL table. I should probably have a look around and see what we're dealing with. It's a few days since I played this session, so sorry about that. Yes, we've got 100 euros, 100 euros, 100 euros. So 5 100 NL euro tables and 1 50 NL euro table. I think that explains the bet sizing there. Table 6, let's see what we do. Calling or 3-betting would be reasonable, I think. I'm going to favour a call in general the majority of the time, but 3-betting for time to time is fine. Problem with 3-betting is that we can get 4-bet off our hand. Table 2, we've got a limp from under the gun, which is unusual. On over a couple of hundred hands, he's playing very loose, so he's likely to be a weaker player. We get 4-bet on table 5. Especially given our large sizing, this is more likely to be a real hand, given our large pre-pot sizing. The reason I'm 3-betting on table 2 is that this guy appears to be a reg. He's going to be isolating the fish reasonably wide, and so I'm sort of just 3-betting him as if he just opened the pot for $3, really, with the extra advantage that I'm very likely to get the extra $1 from the fish. I get overcalled in the big blind, so a little bit unusual. Could be something very strong like pocket aces, or something that he just doesn't want to fold for $9, like maybe pocket tens, pocket jacks. Table 3 we've opened, and with an opening straight draw on this flop, we decided to c-bet. It's fine. It's like a board that's got not the best to be c-bet bluffing on, because there's plenty of chances that our opponents are going to connect it with this board. We do have a fair amount of equity, backdoor flush draw as well. So we get a good turn card on table 3, and 9-2-2 flop on table 2. So if we choose to c-bet, it's probably our best chance to win the hand. Like, we could check back and maybe an ace or king will come, something that we can use to get pocket 10 type hand to fold. But on the other hand, if we take a stab here, like he might have overcalled something like ace queen, that he may fold if we bet. So either checking back or betting on table 2 is going to be fine. Mostly betting for value on table 3. Not a good turn on table 2, given that he's called. Say that skews his range more towards tens and jacks. So check back here and hope for an ace or a king on the river. Yeah, so when he leads the river, obviously we have no equity, we can't do anything. It's quite likely that he's filled up with the pocket tens on the river there too. Unfortunately on table 3 our opponent folded. So one of the problems with this HUD is I don't have enough information on the HUD itself, so I'm having to use the pop-ups a lot, which are covering a lot of the play. So I'll just sort of pause and rewind if we miss anything important. Table 2 with ace 5 suited, could go any of 3 ways. Can fold it to an early-ish position opener, flat it in position, or make a 3-bet as a bluff. Table 4, 3-betting against a shorter stack for value. The deeper stacked we are, when 3-betting for value out of position, the more likely I'm going to be to make it slightly larger. So, you know, if it was like 100 blinds or more, then I might make it $10, €10 or more here. But given that he's short, I don't need to worry so much about his implied odds. Table 3, likely to be a weaker player here, playing 35-21. I think he actually featured in one of the previous recordings as well, so 3-betting for value. Not the best flop. Could either check, keep his range wide and plan on check calling, or c-bet to sort of protect our equity against hands that might improve. So table 6, didn't quite see the pre-flop action there. Looks like I called and we've gone to the flop 4-way, and with middle pair I've check folded. I think it's quite reasonable 4-way. Table 1, I 3-bet bluff 10-8 suited in a small blind and get a cold 4-bet from a big blind. So a hand like this with very little equity and like no blockers or anything, I can't consider doing anything other than folding. If I had something like ace-8 suited and I'd seen him cold 4-bet a lot, doing an aggressive 3 and 4-bet, I could consider doing something to try and get his 4-bet bluffs to fold. Yeah, so like I said, it's only a short recording, so it's just going to be a one-part standalone video this. But I can't exactly remember the hand, but I'm pretty sure there was at least a couple of interesting hands in the session. Opening pocket 4s in the cutoff, table 1. Three-way on the flop. You know, it's not a particularly connected flop, and not something that's that likely to give our opponent something. So I'm just betting here really to get or non-paired over cards to fold. And when I get 2 callers, obviously I'm not in great shape. Certainly not like a mandatory c-bet on that flop. You could go either way, between checking and giving up 3-way, or making one stab on the flop. Just flat jack king suited on the button. Not strong enough to be 3-betting the value, obviously. So I'm just hoping to use my positional advantage post flop. So raising this flop, because it's ace high, a lot of players, pre-flop raisers, are going to be c-betting it both as a bluff and because they've connected with the ace. But on a board like this, as well connected and monotone, they're oftentimes not going to have anything strong enough to continue, or at least to withstand a lot of pressure, especially out of position. So like if I'm going to get a lot of folds for a start, and if called, a lot of the times it's going to be by something like ace with, say, the 10 of hearts or something, that is planning to see if he makes his flush and check fold to a lot of pressure on later streets. Also, as I have, I have got a pair, middle pair, but sort of the value of that, if called, is more in our chances of improving, like making two pair. I don't expect to have the best hand to showdown a lot if called. I was saying that I suppose pocket queens with a heart may call the flop raise. Yeah, I mean, I just think like it's better just to turn our hand into a bluff a lot of the time. The board's so scary. Pre-flop raisers are going to be betting ace high boards a lot and giving up. If we call, we're basically doing it on the basis that we have middle pair and that we might be good, but whatever he's got a lot of the times has reasonable equity to improve. So call ace 10 suited, table 4 against under the gun opener, bit thin perhaps. Yeah, go either way on that with between calling and folding. Yeah. So half pot bet on the turn, obviously check calling. Future action's going to depend on his bet sizing. So I think he continues to bluff this turn with a lot of hands. So if he bets largish, may consider folding on table 4. Table 3, we've opened kings under the gun and got a great flop, obviously. Betting for value. Table 4, opponent checks the turn, so leading the river for value. Might get looked up by a weaker ace, maybe even a king. We could have floated the flop, I suppose, with something like 10 jack hearts, 10 jack clubs, something like that. Pretty safe river on table 3, so betting for value again. Could have made it a little larger, I think, given that there's a reasonable amount of draws out there. Table 2, we get 3 bet. So if this were heads up, I'd always be folding out of position, but given that we've gone a chance to go 3-way to the flop with a hand that generally going to be pretty easy to play. We're gonna not only needs the pot bigger pre-flop, but in terms of implied odds, our implied odds are going to be greater because we're 3-way. Because if we make the type of hand we're hoping to make, like a flush or a straight or trips, then we're more likely to be paid off because there's more players in the pot that can have a second best hand. So we get a reasonable flop. But not one that we can go too crazy on. Table 3, so make a full house on the river. Yeah, I suppose 9x isn't folding now, but don't think he calls the turn with that many 9x's. In terms of bet sizing, yeah, I suppose something like normal size. There's merits to betting both small and large. I suppose like a 9x is never folding, like I said. Problem is with betting too large, you're just gonna like get some king x's to fold. Obviously the larger we bet, the less likely we are to get called by hands like that. I think that's a bit thin, calling 3 streets there from him against under the gun. I suppose he's basing it on the fact that the flush draw missed. So the flop on table 2 gets checked round and our opponent leads. We're still three-way. Given that the board's paired and there's someone to act behind, I think folding would be reasonable. A paired board obviously makes a flush draw less useful. Table 3, 3-betting for value with ace queen. Table 1, just called in position. I think it must have been a min open. Flop top 2 pair. Opening ace 10 suited on table 6. Just going to rewind and totally missed the action on table 5. Okay, so I got 3-bet by the cut-off. Pocket pairs, Sims are calling these out of position. You know, you can fold. Folding's fine. Probably the safest default play. The wider, more aggressive, the 3-better though. We can start to call because we're not only playing for set value, but then we need to be able to prepare to check call on future streets, which can be a bit nasty playing out of position. So we check and our opponent bets. He's going to be betting almost everything. Like I'd say all his like high pairs, he's going to be betting there. But he is going to be checking back some of his ace X's, like ace queen, ace king, but also some of the like bluffs that have connected with this board that beat us, like 9x, 10, 8x. He's going to be checking back some percentage of the time with those. So I think calling, given all that, is reasonable at least once. Not a great turn card really. Hoping to go to showdown now on table 5. Not going to be able to call a further bet. River could be interesting. Like, it's a great scare card for him to bet as a bluff. Yeah, like, and if he bets like a lot of the hands that beat us, like 8x, 9x, 10x, probably not going to bet the river for thin value, I wouldn't think, because they don't imagine that hands like ours are going to call here, given that the king has come on the river. So, sure, whilst these like just completed with ace king a reasonable percentage of the time, I think he's betting his A on this river a reasonable percentage of the time as well, so it's just going to depend on bet size and if he bets to us. Slightly on the large size. Yeah, so You know, like I think he's almost just as likely to have, he's not exactly as likely to have ace jack as he is ace king, because he's 3-betting ace king with a greater frequency free flop, but all of his hands like ace jack, ace queen, just bluffs like you know, whatever, are going to fire this flop. It's true that a lot of his bluffs have caught some piece of this board. I just think that they check back too often, so we can sort of exclude those. I don't think people in general value bet a hand like Jack 10 on this river at 100 NL. I don't think that's happening often enough. So sure, but you know, a fair amount of the time we're beat there, and he's just paired king queen or ace king. But given the pot odds, I think it's a reasonable call. In a way, like when the king comes and he bets it, like our chance of having the best hand actually improves compared to it was when he checked back the turn. Like I said, because a lot of those 8x, 9x, 10x hands probably not going to be betting the rivers so thinly for value. So whilst an overcard and a scary looking overcard has come for our low pocket pair, the fact that he's chosen to bet that overcard sort of like polarizes his range, narrows down his value range in a way. So just going to have to rewind for table 6 as well. During that discussion I've missed the action there. I don't see what we did on the flop. Guessing we c-bet and then check the turn. So rainbow flop, like queen high, is a reasonable spot for a c-bet. We've also got the backdoor flush draw, obviously. Did I misread the board there? I thought we had a straight there for a minute. That's unfortunate. Table 6. So open king queen offsuit under the gun against most likely to be a weaker player playing 43-20. C-betting is a bluff. The problem is with it is that like lots of 8x's are going to call, which have us beat, but perhaps we can get those to fold with further pressure, and that's a pretty nice turn card for us. So obviously knew that was coming. I think on table 4 I raised, so we've got a limper. Don't have many hands on him, but the fact that he's limping means he's likely to be a fish. Definitely a weaker player on a button. So with a hand like this, I'm raising for value because I feel like I'm going to get lots of calls from weaker kings and queens. So we've got a fold on table 5. Check folding on table 6 there. Table 5, 3-way to the flop, I think you can call here. Table 3, weaker player with a low 3-bet number, 3 bets on the button, so not going to be considering anything there. C-bet bluff on table 1, king high board, fairly standard. Checking back is always an option in that type of scenario with a decent ace high, decent bluffs. A 3-bet on table 3 from a shorter stack, so no real option. Under the gun limp from the weaker player on table 5. May just call here if it's folded round with a suited connector, or may make it a little ISO, not for the strength of my hand, but more to secure play in the pot against the fish. Problem is he's short stacked, so I just need to be careful with my sizings. I don't sort of overcommit in to the pot. Okay, fair enough. It's oftentimes a reasonable hand when they do that. Ace Jack on the button on table 1, obviously we're going to be opening. A little bit of a lull in the action here. Ace 9 offsuit there, too weak to open on table 5 because of my position. Suited, might consider. Need to get some of these weaker players tagged. Makes it easier to sort of spot the weaker players when they've got some sort of tag around them. It can influence a lot of the action. In that example there, for example, on table 2, a reg sort of opened with a weaker player in the blind. It's likely to mean that he's opening a little bit wider. So there's possibly a 3-bet bluff opportunity there. So we've opened 9-6 offsuit there on the button, and with a gut shot on that flop, it's so coordinated that I don't think I get enough folds against the big blind's defending range to consider bluffing. Got a limper on table 6, so I'm isolating both to increase the chances of me playing against the fish and also for value with a hand like that. Succeed offsuit on the button table 4, so opening range is going to depend on the big blinds, the blinds, both the blinds, small blind and big blinds, tendency to defend. The more they fold, the less they 3-bet, the wider we want to be opening. And we get another limp raise from this guy, not the same player, but it happened on another table. So we just have to fold. Another limper on table 4. Let's see a few weaker players in this session. That's an example where perhaps I could have considered at least a call or a 3-bet as a bluff, given that the fish is in the big blind. I think because I haven't, it's a while since I played on this site and I don't have my players tagged. I think I probably missed the fact that he's a fish in the big blind on that occasion. Like I mentioned at the start, I get distracted in this video and I have to call it a day, so I'm not sure how effective my play was in these later hands. I seem to recall a couple of interesting ones. So what's happened here? Table 4, we called a 3-bet from a weaker player playing 35-21. We're in position, so going to be calling there. You see overcards on the flop. The fact they're paired makes it less likely our opponent's got one. Not the best turn card for us really, although it gives us a gut shot. Like he made a small bet on the turn, but the problem with calling is, like, you know, a lot of times we're already beat. We're drawing dead. I mean, and with a paired board, not the best to be calling the draws on. Opening ace king suited under the gun, table 4. I think I'm sitting out on 2 and 3 because I already realised that I need to end the session. Get a really small turn lead, but the board's like so coordinated. I could consider peeling, like decent part of his range is 1 pair, but you know, 1/4 of our aces and kings are going to be no good to us a lot of the time there because they bring a diamond. So that's it for this lesson. Hope that was interesting. I think there are a couple of interesting spots there. Please look out for the next lesson. Bye.